A perfect budget can fail in a single careless weekend. An imperfect budget can quietly change a life. That contradiction would have made sense in old Japan. In the merchant districts of Edo, wealth was rarely built through dramatic victories. It was built through small decisions repeated for years. A shopkeeper could survive a bad season, an unexpected fire, or a sudden rise in rice prices not because every calculation was flawless, but because the household had learned how to bend without breaking. This was the spirit of Wabi-Sabi. Today, Wabi-Sabi is often reduced to an appreciation of cracked pottery, faded wood, and uneven surfaces. But beneath its visual beauty lies a deeper principle. Nothing is perfect, nothing is permanent, and nothing is ever fully complete. Applied to money, that principle becomes surprisingly powerful. Most people do not fail at budgeting because they are incapable of discipline. They fail because they expect discipline to look perfect. They create a strict plan on the first day of the month. Every expense receives a category. Every dollar is assigned. The plan feels clean, controlled, and complete. Then reality arrives. A car needs repair. A family member calls. A stressful week leads to an unnecessary purchase. The budget is broken, and the mind declares the entire month a failure. The problem was never the unexpected expense. The problem was the belief that one mistake destroyed the system. Edo period merchants understood something modern consumers often forget. A financial system must be strong enough to survive human imperfection. Merchant households kept ledgers, monitored inventory, controlled waste, and separated business money from household spending. But their survival did not depend on predicting every event. It depended on maintaining margins, reserves, and habits that could absorb uncertainty. A merchant who spent every coin according to an exact plan left no space for reality. A merchant who allowed for fluctuation could survive. This is where Wabi-Sabi Wealth begins. It does not ask, how can I follow my budget perfectly? It asks, how can I build a budget that still works after I make a mistake? The difference seems small, but psychologically, it changes everything. Behavioral economics shows that people often think in extremes. A plan is either followed or broken. A week is either successful or wasted. A purchase is either responsible or proof that discipline has disappeared. This all-or-nothing thinking creates a dangerous cycle. First comes restriction, then pressure, then a mistake, then shame, finally, abandonment. The person who overspends by $50 may respond by spending another $200 because the budget already feels ruined. This is not rational, but it is deeply human. Once the mind believes the standard has been lost, self-control becomes harder to recover. An imperfect budget interrupts that cycle. Instead of treating mistakes as collapse, it treats them as information. An overspending category reveals where pressure is building. An ignored subscription reveals how easily small costs disappear from attention. A failed savings target reveals whether the goal was unrealistic, poorly timed, or unsupported by the rest of the household. The mistake becomes part of the design. This is similar to the Japanese practice of repairing broken ceramics with visible seams. The repaired object does not pretend it was never damaged. Its history becomes part of its structure. A resilient financial life works the same way. Every mistake should leave behind a stronger system. If late-night shopping repeatedly defeats your plan, the lesson is not simply to become stronger. Remove saved payment details, delete the app, create a waiting period, move temptation farther away. If irregular expenses keep destroying the monthly budget, stop pretending they are surprises. Build a category for repairs, gifts, travel, and family obligations. If investing only happens when money is left over, automate it near payday, before daily consumption expands to absorb everything available. This is not weakness, it is intelligent design. The samurai did not rely only on courage. Discipline was supported by ritual, preparation, and repeated practice. The goal was not to feel strong in every moment. The goal was to build habits that remained useful when emotion became unreliable. Money requires the same approach. Modern consumer culture is built around emotional speed. Buy now. Upgrade now. Reward yourself now. The delay between desire and payment has almost disappeared. A person can spend in seconds, borrow without touching cash, and forget the transaction before the day is over. An imperfect budget must therefore include friction. A 24-hour pause before non-essential purchases creates distance between emotion and action. A weekly money review prevents small leaks from remaining invisible. A fixed personal allowance allows enjoyment without turning every purchase into a moral debate. This last point matters. Budgets often fail because they are built as punishment. Every pleasure becomes suspicious. Every deviation creates guilt. Eventually, the mind rebels against the system. Edo merchants were disciplined, but discipline was not the same as deprivation. A successful household needed stability, dignity, and continuity. The purpose of restraint was not misery, it was preservation. A useful budget must protect the future without making the present unbearable. That may mean saving 15% instead of forcing 25% and quitting after 2 months. It may mean investing a modest amount consistently rather than waiting for the perfect income. It may mean reducing one major expense instead of trying to eliminate every small comfort. Financial freedom rarely begins with a perfect month. It begins with a pattern that survives imperfect months. This is where compound wealth enters the story. Compounding rewards consistency more than intensity. A person who invests a manageable amount for years may build more stability than someone who contributes aggressively for a short period and then stops. The same is true of debt reduction, emergency savings, and spending control. Small actions become powerful when they remain alive. But consistency is impossible when the system demands perfection. The modern mistake is to build budgets for the person we wish we were, always focused, never tired, never tempted, never interrupted. Wabi-Sabi Wealth builds for the person who actually exists. That person will sometimes overspend. Sometimes income will change. Sometimes motivation will disappear. Sometimes the world will become more expensive without permission. The system must anticipate this. A practical, imperfect budget can rest on 4 simple ideas. First, protect what keeps life stable: housing, food, essential transport, insurance, and minimum debt obligations. Second, pay the future early through savings and long-term investing, even when the amount is modest. Third, create room for irregular expenses so that predictable problems do not become emergencies. Fourth, allow a controlled amount of flexible spending. A budget with no breathing room is not strong, it is brittle. Then review the system without judgment. Ask what worked, ask what failed, ask what needs to change. Do not ask whether the month was perfect. A merchant reviewing a ledger did not improve the business by feeling ashamed of the numbers. The ledger existed to reveal reality. Modern financial tracking should serve the same purpose. Numbers are not accusations. They are signals. This is especially important for generational wealth. Families do not pass down wealth only through assets. They pass down attitudes. Children observe whether money is discussed calmly or fearfully, whether mistakes are hidden or corrected, and whether discipline means control or constant anxiety. A household that teaches recovery may leave a greater inheritance than one that only teaches restriction. The deepest lesson of Wabi-Sabi is not that flaws should be celebrated blindly. It is that flaws should be accepted clearly enough to be shaped into wisdom. Your budget does not need to prove that you are disciplined. It needs to help you become more durable. There will be months when the numbers do not align. There will be decisions you regret. There will be periods when progress feels too small to matter. But wealth is not created by never breaking rhythm. It is created by returning to rhythm before temporary disorder becomes permanent decline. The quiet advantage belongs not to the person who controls every dollar flawlessly, but to the person who notices quickly, adjusts calmly, and continues with patience before disappointment becomes permanent surrender. A cracked bowl can still hold water. A flawed plan can still protect a future. And an imperfect budget, followed with patience, honesty, and long-term discipline, may be more valuable than a perfect budget that cannot survive real life.